NRL Fantasy buy, hold, sell round 11. And really, we're talking about round 12. We're talking about the start of the State of Origin major buy rounds. It's a crazy time. Biz, how you feeling heading into it?
Yeah, feeling good, and so is our man Brendan Piacora. He's feeling great. He's catapulting up that price list. But look, had a decent week, up into the top 2.5K now. So slowly making my way into that top K. So hopefully after this week, I'll be on the door of it. How about yourself?
Mate, it's Piakura season. That is good to see. Back-to-back 50-plus games. Got the 62 last week. So he's waited for everyone to lose faith. And now the true disciples of Piakura are rewarded, which is great to see. I pumped out a 1,024 last week, so I jumped up the ranks. I lost some the week before, though. So I was just kind of coming back into form a bit, sitting a bit outside the top 1,000 there. So need a great origin period. But I got a bit lucky. Avoided a lot of the major injuries last week. So should be pretty sweet. Just on this episode too, there's a bunch of guys that we could talk about that I'm going to run with the assumption that everyone has, right, Biz? So guys like Fletcher Sharp, Dylan Lucas, Ruben Garrick's very common, Aaron Clark, Hugo Savala, Rob Toyer. Like these are all really solid options there, but they're so commonly owned that we're not going to list them in the buys. So if you still want Aaron Clark, you can still get him. Fletcher Sharp, Dylan Lucas are red hot options, and Ruben Garrick next week after he drops a bit of cash is a cracking option too. So I just want to run with those assumptions there. Let's tear right into this. Zach Hosking first up. And Biz, I'll throw this to you because I know you were a massive Hosking fan preseason. You were one of the first to call him a big option this year. 592K, priced at a 44. What do you think of this guy?
Yeah, I think if you were on him at the start of the season, you got to get on him now because he's the pretty much the same price. What he was like 591 or something to start the year. So
Crazy.
we've done a full roundabout. He now locks in that big second row spot. I love Zach Hosking. He's super talented, high work rate, offloader, try scorer. He has the potential to be a very big scoring edge. And like, there's been a few edges who have set the world alight, like Hudson Young and Couchman, etc., have been really good. But Hudson Young and Couchman, they're not going to be around for the next few weeks for either for Origin or because of the shoulder injury. Hosking, I think, is a great option. The thing with Hosking is at the start of the season, we knew what Hosking was going to be from a statistical perspective. But what we didn't know was Canberra was going to be this top four juggernaut team rolling around. So now, in my eyes, the Hosking argument is upgraded from 3 months ago. So I think he's pretty much close to a must-have at this price. My only caveat is with Nicholson, they play him 80 minutes. With Hosking, they seem to give him 65. I'm not quite sure why that is. I don't think there's a fitness issue, but Hosking is a bit injury prone. I'm not going to lie. That's one knock on him. But good buy schedule, well priced, pedigree scoring talent. Look, I think he has to find a way into my side, Longy. I'm assuming he's going into yours.
Yeah, mate, he's got and it's bad timing because I bought Kai Pierce-Paul and Dylan Lucas last week. So I addressed the edge back row spot last week very heavily. So I'll get Hosking 100%, but it does hurt a bit that I've wasted trades there. But for Hosking, it's a 62 average historically when he does get that starting spot and play big minutes. So 62 is huge. And you got to match up this week against the Titans as well, who have been leaking tons of points. So Hosking genuinely has potential to go, 90 plus, 100 plus this week if things go right. Sorry, Biz, I did cut you off there. You were going to ask a question?
No, I was going to say the same thing. I locked in my edges with Halasima last week, and now
Yeah.
Hosking's available. But that's why, honestly, I was just going to say that's one reason for buys. You can't plan too early because things never pan out the way you expect. But anyway, sorry, keep going.
No, he's a red hot option though, Hosking. I think even if you have enough back rows, you still get him, right? Because that price, he's red hot. Doesn't miss many minor buy rounds till much later on as well. Matty Nicholson, by the way, it's a 12-week injury, guys. So if you have Matty Nicholson, I'm just going to upfront this. That's definitely a sell, and it means that Hosking's a red hot option now. Joey Tarpanay is up next, and this Hosking news does influence Tarpanay a bit because with Nicholson out, Hosking goes from being a bench prop and bench lock to being a starting edge back rower. So Hosking was playing pretty big minutes, like sort of that 55, 60-minute role in the middle. He now is removed from that, and they get someone who's a lower minute player. So it's probably good news for Tarpanay's minute security. But on Joey Tarpanay, I'll throw some numbers at you here, Biz, because his minutes have stayed the same the last 3 years. So it's been roughly the same, deviation of about 1.5 minutes there, so nothing significant. And over the last 2 years before this one, he was averaging 55 or within a point of 55. This year, with the same number of minutes, he's averaged 62. Now, all of that increase has come from attacking stats. So tackle breaks, try assists, line breaks. None of it has come from meters. It's actually making a few less meters, and the tackles have remained consistent too. So basically, what you're betting on here is Joey Tarpanay is going to continue to attack above his career rate, which, when you talk about Canberra being good, is a decent bet to make. But just to give you guys the numbers here, historical numbers about a 55 average. He's priced at a 58. He's been averaging 62 this year. So a bet on Joey Tarpanay is a bet on attacking stats, which, with the Titans coming up this week, isn't the worst bet.
Yeah, I think look, when he's playing with in a forward pack that's doing so well, like Corey Horsburgh's playing so well, Starling's having a career year at the hooker spot, Hudson Young's having a career year, Hosking will be excellent. Even Morgan Smithies is having a revival from last year. I think, look, you're probably overpaying a little bit for him. I think he does fall back, but for the buy schedule that he has and for the elevation he'll give you versus playing a cheapie mid over the next few weeks, I think Tarpanay is a big shout. I will be getting my most likely ins this week will be Tarpanay and Hosking, funnily enough, and I'll pair them with Corey Horsburgh in my. So it'll look like the Canberra pack. You'll have the Newcastle Knights back line. I'll have the Canberra forward pack, and we'll put it together. But I think he's a good option. I will say one thing on his minutes, the last 3 weeks, 60 minutes, and 58 minutes. So it's kind of bumping up a bit. But it's not really a trend. He has parts of the season where he has increased minutes, but during the Origin period, no Hudson Young, potentially no Corey Horsburgh, Nicholson's gone, and Hosking's not in the middle rotation anymore. So he could play 60 minutes over that Origin period. So he could be really hot at least for the next 10 weeks. I'll
drop this in too for him. He's what was I going to say? Oh my God. Isaiah Yeo to Joey Tarpanay. That's a surefire trade. So Yeo is going to be on the sell list later. But Yeo to Tarpanay, I'm just going to say it in advance. Yes, that's a good straight swap. Tarpanay is a slightly lower average than Yeo in general, but Yeo will miss this week. He'll miss round 12, 15, 18. And we know that the Panthers won't back up in round 16 as well. So Yeo to Tarpanay, if you got Yeo, I don't mind this trade at all. Herbie Farnworth up next, and he's at a similar price point, pretty expensive, priced at that high 50s point, averaging 59 this year. I'll throw some numbers at you here, Biz, and I want to give you I want you to give me a 1 to 10 rating of how much of a must-have Herbie is. He's got the Warriors this week, and he scored 90 plus both times he played the Warriors last year. Is he a must?
No, he's not a must. I think Warriors are a very different proposition this year than last year. A much grittier team. But at 753K, it's you definitely want him in your team, but is he a must? No. And the reason he's not a must, I know, but the reason he's not a must is solely because I would say a pairing of Lucas and Toya is very common for round 12. So to have a player outside of a third center like Toya, sitting outside that 13 for round 12, likely probably means you're missing another spot. So that's why I'm saying he's not a must-have. If you don't have the both of them and you need a center, then go nowhere but Lucas and Farnworth for that round 12 center spot. It's so appealing. I'm even considering, even though Toya will have a low break even next week, can I move Toya up to Farnworth? I know Toya has a great buy schedule, but Herbie is just that good. I don't know if he's going to go huge this week, but even when he's quiet, he's scoring 55. So, look, he's as good as it gets for a real center in fantasy. I love the buy, and I think he's a must-have if you don't have a second center for round 12. But Lucas and Farnworth is what dreams are made of in the centers.
Yeah, that's what I'm running at the moment. But look, I guess what you're saying is right there. So a lot of teams will be tossing this up because they'll be thinking, all right, I've got one spare spot between my edge, back row, and center. Because a lot of, you got Kautonga, you got Lucas who are a bit flexible. And they're going to have to choose between Hosking and Farnworth for round 12. So if you're choosing between Hosking and Farnworth, Hosking is the must-have here. But I'll say Herbie Farnworth, he's a genuine consideration for captain this week, especially if he's up against Kurt Capewell, which is how it's been named right now. That would be the most slam dunk option there. RTS coming back from injury is, he's come back from injury, but RTS is a more solid defender. So, yeah, I think Herbie Farnworth is one that's going to go nuclear this week. Then Riley Smith, he's been playing big minutes, 70-plus minutes the last 3 games. I've been starting him outright the last 2 weeks. Ever since he played that 80-minute game, I just thought, you know what? It's 35 points in 80 minutes, not encouraging, but 80-minute hooker, he's in my 17. He's pumped out back-to-back 50-plus scores. Would you still buy him at 435K here?
Yeah, this week was encouraging. Hands and Lussick, I believe, available but not selected. No Hooker on the bench. Looks like he's going to be 70 to 80 minutes again. They're debuting Mediale, which we'll talk about later. But look, I think at 435, he's a good price. I think he plays a good buy schedule. So I think I'd be buying him in. I wouldn't be expecting a 50 average. I think there's going to be games where he gets a rest. He's a young guy, but he's scoring 55 odd of 56 tackles. So there is attacking upside, and he is not. The stats imply that he's one of those just defensive stalwart types hookers. He's really not. I'd say he's a bit more of an attacking hooker. He does like to run. He does like to kick. It just hasn't translated the last 2 weeks. Suspect it could be a coaching thing saying, hey, look, mate, we're going to give you 80 minutes. Just get through your tackles. And as you build that fitness, as you get that experience, those things will come. So I think there's upside. I think if he keeps getting 80 minutes, he can be a high 40s average guy because he's going to have some of these games where he's probably making 45 tackles and missing 7 or 8. Not much attacking stats, but he's going to have these games where he's making 55 tackles, bit of upside stats, maybe gets him to a 60. So at 435K, I think the best hooking spot combination you could have right now is Aaron Clark and Riley Smith. But as you said, Aaron Clark's pretty highly owned right now. So we won't talk about him, but that's a combination I'm running. I assume a lot of coaches are running that combination.
Many also have Riley Smith and Jazz Tavanga right now.
True.
And look, Jazz named it hooker this week. It's not encouraging, but there's a lot of talk that implies that Jake Drabovic be selected for New South Wales this year. So that's going to mean that Jazz goes back to lock for those games. So, yeah, look, if you've got the hooker spot, it's not worth spending. Like Wade Egan's not worth the money. Marshall King's out injured this week. Harry Grant comes back, plays Origin. Like you're not going to spend money at hooker. So Riley Smith is a banging option. He's my starting hooker actually every week. That's why I've got Lucas and Farmworth and all these other guys. It's gone very cheap at the hooker spot. And then Scotty Drinkwater is the last one here on the buy list before we get into pods and the weight options there as well. But for Scott Drinkwater, 713K is pretty pricey, but there's been a bit of an upgrade to his profile this week. So we've seen Clifford get dropped outright. Clifford was kicking the ball about 300 meters a game. What we've seen is Jackson Purdue move into that half spot. We'll talk about Purdue later as well, by the way. But Purdue goes into that half spot as a guy who in reserve grade when he played half averaged 100 kick meters a game. So you're looking at a downgrade. Let's say that translates perfectly, right? He does 100 kick meters a game in first grade. You got about 200 kick meters a game free and available for anyone to grab onto. That's sort of 6 to 7 points there. Let's say Dearden takes a couple of those, but Drinkwater takes a bunch of them and sort of plays that Latrell style role where he does a bunch of kicking from fullback. That could mean, 4, 5, 6 extra points to Drinkwater's scoring. So it's great news for Drinkwater. He doesn't play round 12 though, so he's only really an option if you're already stacked for round 12. But we've talked about Drinkwater a bunch because I know your thoughts on him too. Like he's the goal kicker there. The Cowboys are playing good footy. They're playing at home this week. You could go early, but if you still need to pay attention to round 12, you could also wait till round 13.
Yeah, not much more to add. I mean, 48, 49 average last few years, now add 6 to 8 points of goals. He should end the year at a 55 plus average. I think a tough wing fullback spot, get him in.
Banging, easy. Then we go to the weights. I just added this in, guys, because there's a lot of guys who I reckon you just need to wait a week and you just need to, or you need to wait for official confirmation. Are these guys going to make Origin? Are they worth jumping onto yet? So Tedesco, scorching hot option. If he was guaranteed not to play Origin, I'd jump on this week. Tommy Turbo dropped 50K last week. He's down about 200K from his starting price, 500K right now. He probably doesn't make Origin, but he's got a high break even anyway, and you might as well just wait a week on him too. Carraz, he's there. He's in the Origin picture. Brian To'o, Zach Lomax, both under injury cloud. Jerome Hughes had a cracker last week, but did come off 13 minutes early. Like he's not quite injury ready. He has a bye round 12. You might as well wait till round 13. And Jacob Safidi is one who probably a much lower chance of making Origin, but still a chance of making Origin. And it would be the worst thing in the world. If you bought him in, then he made Origin, you couldn't play him in round 12. You'd be shattered. So look, these are the guys I'm thinking that you probably just wait a week on, you cop the cash loss or whatever it is there, and you just wait and see if they make Origin. Any of these you disagree on here, Biz, before we go to pods?
No, I love it. I think Jacob Sophidio, we hyped him up last week. I did cop a call out in the comments saying he was close to a must-have, and look, I got called out for that. I mean, look, that was an exaggeration, but he did bust out a 60 and back-to-back
Yeah,
games
you were
with
on point, bro. You're on
but
point. The
back to
problem is he played too well,
he
and
played
he's
too
now in
well.
the
That's right.
Origin
Yeah, he
conversation.
played too well. So now two back-to-back games with 200 meters plus. I mean, look, surely, I mean, New South Wales have so many forwards. Um, you're probably going to pay 460, 470, 480K for him next week, but I would rather pay 40, 50 extra K than buy him and he's not there next week. So, especially with Hosking available and Tarpanay available this week. But I think if he's not in the Origin, he likes. So if he's gotten upgraded from last week. If he was a must-have last week, I don't even want to use the words to say what he is this week, but because he is
Yeah.
looking good. So
I
yeah,
will temper
I agree.
expectations a bit though. Like I think people are getting a bit carried away and going like, "Oh, he's just as good as Tarpanay or this or that or whatever."
That's
He's not.
crazy.
He's not a 60 average. He scored 60 once. All right,
Yeah,
let's just. I
yeah.
think everyone's getting a bit carried away with last week's score. He's a low 40s kind of guy. Like that's where he's
Uh,
going to end up.
I was going to say high 30s, but 40. Let's just agree to 40.
Yeah, that's
40
that's
average.
the ambitious call. Leo Thompson is out this week though, so that probably is good news for his minutes. But
True.
yeah, I see him. Just watch him. Cop the cash. We got a lot of cash anyway. And then pods here: Jaden Campbell, Isaiah Katoa, Ryan Pappenhausen, Keon Kolomatangi, and Ewan Aitken. A couple of Rabbitohs at the end there. I'll throw it to you, Biz, here first. Of this group, who do you want to talk about?
For this week, Isaiah Katoa is probably the most relevant, right? Because he's going to be playing in that round 12. He's on his red hot form, three scores over 60 in the last 4 weeks, largely base stat driven, really leveled up. No chance of origin. Well, I assume there's no chance of origin. I've seen Daly do weirder things. Actually, I don't know. Is he a blue or is he like a maroon? Like,
He's blue.
is he blue? Okay, yeah. I've seen Daly do
Now,
weirder things.
he'd be in the maroon side, I reckon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
like
wouldn't be a. I mean, they
yeah,
had Lord Piacora as the 18th man last year. So,
Pico
look,
deserves it
I
this
think
year though.
Katoa is interesting
Yeah,
because Cleary is a potential trade out for the same reasons that you mentioned for Yo earlier in the show. And Katoa is arguably the second best half this year, at least in current form. Like, who would it be? Hines has been consistent 50s, Fogg's been consistent 50s, but Katoa's been consistent 60s the last month. So, that second
which is
half
sharp.
position, Fletcher
He's the
Sharp,
one.
yeah, but you'd want it, yeah,
Yeah.
Fletcher Sharp. You'd probably want it Fletcher Sharp in your fullback spot, but
Mm.
um, obviously Jaden Campbell's the second best half, but he's also available at the fullback spot, and he doesn't play round 12. So Katoa is a really interesting option. I personally probably won't, just because we've got Savala there, we've got Hines there, we've got Togia there, and like I've had Hines for about a month now, so I don't really need that extra halves coverage. But a lot of people don't have Hines; he's low owned. I'd be getting Katoa.
Yeah, I agree. If you asked me to rank Katoa, Fogarty, and Hines, I'd be going for Katoa at this stage. I think he's the best of the three right now. He's at a good price there as well. But you can only play two halves in round 12. So, like you said, if you have Savala plus one other guy, you can't really get Katoa unless you're going to bench Savala, which is kind of a waste, right? One thing I will say on Cleary, though, just with holding him, you could sell him. He's going to miss the next two games. The upside to him, though, is he misses the next two games, then he plays the Eels and the Tigers,
Mm.
right? And they're must-win games for the Panthers. Like, I think you keep. I'm going to keep him just for those two games, and then probably sell him in round 15 because he'll miss round 16. That's just how I see it there. On
Yeah,
Jaden
with
Campbell
Clear,
here, yep,
I
so
just
you
want to
go.
add on Cleary that with Yo, if you're trading Yo, there's a million good mid options this year.
Mm,
Cleary is by and far the best half this year, so you're
yep,
doing a significant downgrade if you sell him. So there's actually a different argument for Cleary, but I'll let you
yeah.
keep going.
Well, and the captain option. I view captains differently to non-captains, right? Jaden Campbell here, nearly 800K. This one's pretty straightforward. He's a super stud. He was on the pods list last week, pumped out 60 plus. He's going to be here again on this list this week. It's just one where, you go Drinkwater or you go Campbell. If you're looking for that wing fullback post round 12, doesn't play round 12, covered for round 12, you're a head to head coach. You could do this. I would say generally, though, my advice would be wait until after the bye, the round 12 bye. Because in that game, like he scored that 60 plus, he looked great. He played good footy, but he did look a bit injured at times. And I don't know, he's coming back from a pretty significant ankle injury. He's sort of hobbling around at times, wincing and tackles. Like, I think you just give a player a chance to, have a rest and a bye and then come back fresh. So my view is wait a couple of weeks on this. But if you do want to pot up, you totally can. And
I
then
just want to add,
Pappenhausen.
sorry,
Yep.
longer before I add,
Okay.
Kieran Foran. Are you worried about Kieran Foran? There is rumblings that he's around. So what role does
Yeah.
Foran play? We've talked about it
Yep.
every week. We mentioned Jaden Campbell, but how are you seeing the Titans' form develop with Foran's availability?
I mean, he's in the 14 jersey this week, Kieran Foran. So he probably comes on in some capacity. Who knows what that role is? If he comes on in the halves and Brimson goes to fullback, then that's really bad news for Campbell. But maybe it opens up a bit more attacking play for Campbell instead. It might not be the worst thing in the world. It probably just takes him down a notch and makes him, you're paying for what you get. Probably another reason why you'd wait a week as well. So this is a pod play where it's got nuclear upside, but there's definitely a bit of risk there.
Mm.
Now, keep down through here. Pappenhausen bumped out 100 points last week, 4 tries, tore the Tigers to shreds. A bit of conversation about him in the Origin picture. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's probably Edwards. It's maybe Teddy. Pappenhausen's probably the third guy there. Do you have any interest here, Biz, in buying Pappenhausen? Like, it's a very high price compared to the start of the year, but he does seem to be hitting some form.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, there's rumblings that he could be in a 14 as well over Connor Watson. I mean, I don't love it. I think Connor Watson's a much better
Insane.
14. Yeah,
Yeah.
but Pappenhausen, the thing with him is, look, they scored 64 points. They all went gangbusters, 4 tries. Like, let's be
Yeah.
realistic. That's not going to happen every week. He's had the goals for 4 or 5 weeks now, and he's been just scraping 50s with tries. Like, he scored a try in at least the last 4 games, and he's still averaging less than all the top tier fullbacks over that span if you take out that 100. And hundreds are not very common. He might not score it again this year. So, look, I wouldn't be chasing Pappenhausen this price. I mean, he's what, 40, 50K cheaper than Latrell right now. I think Latrell's a smash option for his price if he didn't make the Origin squad. I think the people who have Pappenhausen, like, great stuff, enjoy that 100. But I wouldn't be going to buy him this week. No, definitely not.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It'd have to be a nuclear run of form, like Dally M level form, for him to be justifiable at that price. And then Kolomatangi, 633K, similar price point, played 73 minutes in the front row last week, up against a big Broncos forward pack. So didn't have a lot of tackle breaks and offloads, but did pump out a pretty good score, close to 60. Did you have Kolomatangi last year, Biz, when he went sort of supernova at lock?
I did. Kolomatangi and Barnett at the end of last year were a cheat
Yeah,
code in
that's
the
it.
forwards. And Kolomatangi, look, I think again he's potentially going to make the Origin team. But if he doesn't, him and the next bloke, Ewan Aitken, in round 13, are great options at their price. I think with Kolomatangi, what you're seeing is that he's an absolute beast when he plays in the middle. He racks up 200 plus meters a game. He'll have a couple of quiet games, like he kind of 60, 60, 60, 20. 66, 60 in the middle. That's the scoring profile. But he's a weapon. He can offload. He can score a try. He obviously loves running the ball. So I think at 633K, I'm waiting and seeing as well till round 13. And the same thing with the Ewan Aitken. I know you're a huge Ewan Aitken guy. So what are your thoughts on these two?
Oh, dude, I love Ewan Aitken. So they got the Tigers this week as well, which, Ewan Aitken's a guy who can score a try. And we haven't really seen that attacking breakout from him at South Sydney yet. So I think that's going to come at some point pretty soon. I think this could be one of those games where Ewan Aitken goes 70 plus. Now, I say that, but I'm really not buying many players who don't play round 12 before round 12. Like, it's just not really on my agenda at the moment. But as I think about it, I could probably talk myself into Ewan Aitken. Like, I probably could. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because their outside backs really aren't looking that great, but they did get the win last week. So maybe I will do it. I don't know. I do have the money there. I could move like Jenkins to Aitken, but it does hurt me in round 12. But yeah, no, I think Aitken, though, by the way, he's a must-have in round 13. So we'll reset there. Kolomatangi if he's named in the middle, and Aitken if he's named on the edge, are probably both must-haves in round 13 because South Sydney have an awesome Origin schedule after round 12. So banging options. They're pods right now. They'll probably both be on the buys list in round 13. So if you want to go early, you can. But if not, just make sure you keep a couple of spots available in your forward pack, which is probably getting pretty congested right now.
Yeah, no, not bad.
Now,
Oh,
cheapies.
yes.
Cheapies.
Yeah.
Beerkura.
Let's go.
Beerkura. Should have brought a beer into the office here. We could have raised a glass. But
Yeah.
Brendan Piakura, so back-to-back 50-plus scores. The man is on a mission. He's pumping out good numbers, and they're not just fluky numbers here either. Like, he's playing genuinely quality fantasy footy. Raised about 60K last week. Doesn't play round 12. We're already buying Hosking. How much do you prioritize getting this guy, Biz? Like, by the way,
Man, yeah,
I'm caveating it. He's named on the bench this
I
week.
know.
Let's assume he moves into the starting side by game time, which is relatively early. Like it's early enough.
I'm not too sure what exactly is going on there. I mean, surely he's your starting second row for the rest of the year, 80 minutes guaranteed. He actually looked super threatening last week. He got
Yeah.
chopped down a few times. A couple of really great tackles from the halves. Otherwise, he could have scored a few tries. He looked very threatening. His footwork was good at the line, defended pretty well. I just, I don't know. It's a really tricky one because he doesn't play round 12 or 15. So I don't think he'll fit into my squad just because of that. It's one I'll have to let go. But being on the casual athlete, I don't know if that's right. So maybe I'll just have to do it as a loyal TCA man. I don't know. Longy,
Yeah.
what are you?
I'm
He
trying
has
to find
surely
a
has
way.
to be in the TCA's team.
Man, I'm trying to
The
find a way
casual
to do it.
athlete. It's tough.
Well, let me give you some numbers. He's got 100 meters plus both the last 2 weeks. Has had 2 forced turnovers in the last 2 weeks. Has had a couple of offloads there as well. Has had a total of 8 tackle breaks and has averaged 33 tackles a game. Hasn't had the big attacking stats there either, and has still pumped out a couple of 50-plus scores. Has some pretty good matchups coming up. So let me read you the next 3. Dragons, Sea Eagles, and Titans. So he could very quickly sort of springboard up to some pretty solid fantasy relevance. The issue is, when would you play him? Like, you'd be getting him in. It's a cash generator. We don't need that much cash this year. He's not going to start over, Zach Hosking in your team and Dylan Lucas and these other guys. So he might not ever make it into your starting side is the concern there. But at the same time, he's going to end up like 900K if this continues. This meteoric rise.
He is the Angus Crichton of this year.
Mate, he could easily just become a keeper. Like, really, if he plays 80 minutes, he could easily become a keeper. Like, it's not impossible. I will try to find a way to get him into my team. I will try.
What is the ceiling for Pierre Cora? A 40 average?
Piacere averaged 45 that first year he played when he was playing pretty good as a rookie and missing a ton of tackles. So I think the realistic average ceiling. I mean, what's Payne Haas averaging right now? Like probably 5 more than that, right?
yeah. Payne Haas is averaging 77. Pierre Cora can average 82. So.
At least, and that's first half scores.
Yeah. If he played either of 12 or 15, yes, but he plays neither of them. That makes it difficult. And like you said, you've got guys like Wong, you've got Dylan Egan in most squads, you've got Halasima as a cashier already that plays around top. You've got Hosking now, Lucas who can fill in there, Famore who can fill in there. Like, there is guys. Like, second row is pretty stacked this year. Probably people got Couchman already, Nicholson already in those spots, so it could be trade down options for them. But I don't know. It's an interesting one.
They should have an extra slot in our squads, like, the meme slot. So a slot for the casual athlete sort of meme players. Like Piakura, you could put Talau in there as well. Like, kind of like that super flex and super coach.
You should mention that to them.
I'll tell them. Look, I don't think they're going to be receptive because they're going to be like, what do you mean meme players? I have to explain it. Yeah, no, genuinely though, like, I know we're talking a lot of smack, but Piakura is genuinely a very interesting option. I would forecast, if he plays 80 minutes, I would forecast a 45 average out of him, because that's what he did in his first year when he was playing well. He's playing well at the moment, looks rock solid. It's going to require a commitment from them that Xavier Wilson is a middle forward, but I think about the fact that Carrigan and Haas are playing Origin, going to be backing up. They're going to need Xavier Wilson in the middle anyway, so I think that's a pretty safe bet that they'll do the late swap like they did last week. So Piakura, red hot option. If you're covered for the buys, if you're a head-to-head coach, then he's a great option there. Laken King-Tongia, I'll just mention this one briefly. 38 run meters last week, not super encouraging. You want your running 6 to sort of be running closer to 100 meters, the 100-meter rule, as we call it. So for him, that was
you made that up. I've never heard that before.
The 100-meter rule?
Yeah, come on, you
I
just
made
made
it
it
up
up.
on live today, actually.
All right, fair enough.
It's I'll explain the rule to you. It's my rule that if you've got a running 6 in fantasy, the
Yeah,
barometer you want to see is around 100 meters a game running the ball because that
but
gives
he's
you the
playing.
opportunity to get.
He's playing 7. So what's his benchmark? 50 meters.
He's a running 7 though. He's not kicking the
Yeah.
ball at
Okay.
all.
Still
He's
100.
60.
Yeah.
He's a running 6 that wears the 7 jersey. It's a bit weird, but
Yeah.
100 meters and like we've seen it. Like Cam Munster, the last 3 weeks has gone 100 plus, and he sort of started to turn it around. Dylan Brown, when he's going well, he's going 100 plus meters. Like in that role, you got to be pumping out big meters. So, Ben Hunt, for example, he's playing that
Fletcher
6 role,
Sharp.
not running the ball.
Yeah.
Look at the scores.
Yeah. True.
Right. So 100-meter
Okay.
rule, it's legit. It's a thing now. He's not passing, so look, he's still a good option in round 13. Like I'm still eyeing him off in round 13, but
Yeah.
I probably won't make space for him. That's the issue there. And if you have him in your team, I would put him in a loophole or
Yeah. I got him
something like
last
that.
week, and he's a loophole option for me for sure. Using all the guys who are injured or on bye this week. So yeah,
And
he could score 45. He could score 30. But I think that's his scoring profile. He kind of has these games to get to a close to 40 average.
unless he passes on the 100-meter rule.
Yeah.
Ilias is on the extended bench as well, by the way. So
Yeah,
just
I know.
worth noting that.
It's
Probably
scary.
not a big deal. It's around. Loco Pacific Tonga. So did you watch Dragons game last week?
Watched a lot of it, but not all of it.
Yeah. Pacific Tonga, you might have missed his minutes then. He came on, he looked pretty good, man. Like he's a big
I
unit.
caught him. Yeah, he's a big bop. I liked it. And I think Couchman going down means like 60 minutes out the door, right? So the biggest minute forward is now gone. It could be really interesting. If it's not him, it's another guy who probably just falls outside the cheapies, and Hamish Stewart. We talked about him last week. Got a 60. 44 minutes, but 44 minutes when Couchman went down is not that encouraging. But for Tonga, it could be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I think a lot of the minutes from Couchman just went directly across to Egan because we saw Luciano Leilua play 80 minutes in that game.
Yeah.
So I think the Couchman injury didn't really affect anyone except Egan and Leilua. But Pacific Tonga, he looked good. Like he got 30 minutes in this game. So if I saw him get 40 minutes in this next game, I would ponder this as maybe an option in round 13, but probably not going to be a goer. I just don't mind the idea of having a couple of cheap middle forwards who aren't that expensive. But he did look really good, and we've seen the Dragons give some of these rookies a lot of minutes. You mentioned Hamish Stewart as well. I think he played 44 or 45 minutes the week before.
44 minutes for 50 and 48 minutes the week before.
There we go. Yeah. So he's got that role pretty down packed. Jack DeBellin going into the prop spot helps Hamish Stewart too, because that was sort of his threat for the lock spot. So if you want to pot up with Hamish Stewart, probably around 13 proposition, but not a bad shout.
The thing with Hamish Stewart is that if you look at him now, he's break even really low. And if he keeps scoring 50s, he's going to be he's 456K, so he's going to be 500 plus next week or in round 13. So
maybe you have to go now.
You have to kind of gamble on it now. Yeah.
Big shout. I mean, I'll have a look at it. Like he's an option. You like those guys who can pump out big PPM.
Super pod as well. He can score a try. And look at his. Okay, listen to this PPM. Last 3 games: 50 points in 44 minutes, 66 points in 48 minutes, and 29 points in 11 minutes. And that was the game he got knocked out. So that's ridiculous PPM. But yeah, PPM of 1.12, but only 8.25% owned. So an interesting one. You'd have to get on him early for round 15.
And a mega pod, by the way, amongst the top coaches. Super pod. So I don't mind that shout at all. Actually, bit of a pod. Fletcher Hunt, you had to look at the reserve grade numbers. So he's coming in at the wing spot there on the Knights, which has not been a glorious position with their attack. We've seen Marzu sort of carrying it with work rate, but I know you looked at the numbers there. Do you think Fletcher Sharp can replicate that?
Nah, 30 average in reserves, playing a mix of fullback, center, and halfback even for a game, and wing. So it's kind of been toggled around the place. Knights are just not it at the moment. I keep saying they'll click at some point, but every time they take a step forward to take 3 steps back, it's kind of like me and my diet. But I just I'm not doing it. I think there's options for the Knights at the wing position. If they keep losing, Fletcher Sharp's been their bright light this year, but he could go back to the wing. They've got who was that other guy that filled in there recently? They had another winger who filled in on the other side.
McCarthy?
That's right. Yeah, they've got options around. he's interesting because he fills in round 12 and 15 and his base price, so you could just kind of milk him for those rounds. But actually, it's not the end of the world. If you just need if you've got a stacked fullback position and you just need one person to help fill in for round 12 and 15, it could be on. But I would wait and see this week to make sure he actually is named next week.
Yeah, we just don't have that many slots in our team for sort of dead catch outs. But
yeah,
the other thing is because he plays fullback in resis, he might be the fullback backup when Ponga's out.
Mm.
That role hasn't secured many points recently, so I'm not saying that's a
surely
great
it's
thing.
Sharp. I mean, I reckon they just move Sharp to
Sharp's
fullback and
great.
gamble in.
He's a great
He's been
six,
great at
though. Like,
six.
he's killing it.
He's killing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Maybe
think
all
he's the
right.
one thing you wouldn't want to change. But yeah, Hunt, you could take a shot. Look, Hunt as well. He plays Parramatta this week, who have leaked some points on the wings, but I don't know if that's going to happen this week. He's up against Lomax, so he should get abused, hopefully, in this game against Parramatta. There's no bias there at all. Xavier Savage is the last one here, and then we'll talk about Kalen Ponga in a sec too, which you kind of alluded to. But for Savage here, he's down to 271K. He has a very high break even. He's going to get down to like 245K or something next week. If I was going to cash out to someone, look, Savage has been terrible this year. So scores of 5, 8, 8, and 17, including his scores this year. But he's historically like a 30 average when he plays next to Fogarty. So you could bet on a bounce back. Like Canberra are scoring points. They're just not really passing to their wing as much. Savage here, 13 points for the try last week. I think it actually might have updated to 17. Do you have any interest at all? Like, would you go Savage over Hunt, or what's your thoughts there?
Probably Savage over Hunt, just because you'll probably get him at the similar price next week at 250K, and Savage is guaranteed a spot for the rest of the year. And he'll have flash games where he scores 66, 67. I mean, he started the year with a 60 plus, right? I think he started the year with close to a 70. So it's in him. He averaged 29 last year. So there is some upside, but he's probably just one you plug in as like an emergency for the rest of the year if you cash out to him and just use that cash elsewhere. So I would take Savage over Hunt just because I know Savage will be there unless he's injured.
Yeah, he's priced at 20 right now as well. So he'll be priced at 18 or 19 next week. So there is 10 points of value there too, which is kind of hilarious, actually.
There's your 10-point rule on top of your 100-meter rule, mate.
Mate, there are a few rules in fantasy. And now we've got Kalen Ponga here.
Well, how did you even get this picture? This seems weird as hell, man.
Isn't it like an ominous photo?
Anyway.
For anyone listening on the podcast, by the way, because we post this to Spotify as well, guys, it's a picture of Kalen Ponga looking gaunt and otherworldly with some devil horns and flames there. So Ponga comes before the hold or sell section. This has been one that's been brutal. I don't even own Kalen Ponga, and I am tearing my remaining hairs out over this guy. Right? He came back a couple of weeks ago, scored that near 60-point game, looked good again. And we saw him against the Titans, and he was just looking absolutely dreadful. Like, there were players with their arm free trying to offload to him. He didn't look like he wanted the ball. Just sort of shoveling it on every play. They lost that game on the back of, I think, him taking the foot off the pedal was a big part of that as their captain, and which really set the tone. So I think Pong is losing the Knights games, and he's losing fantasy coaches' money and games as well. Because I'll throw to you here, at this stage, like, surely it's a bit of sunk cost fallacy, but surely you have to hold on against Parramatta and maybe hope he doesn't make Origin, right?
You have to hold against Parramatta for sure, and you have to
start him though.
Yeah, you got to start him. Like, he's just too good. It's just
first
too
game
good.
of the round, loophole maybe.
I guess if you got Cleary, Yo, etc., you can loophole him. But I'm still playing him. Like, I still think him and Turbo are both good options next week if they don't make Origin. Like, I'd be eyeing them both off at 500K. Like, why not? It's the worst that can happen. It's like that Reece Walsh situation. 450 to 500K. Worst case, he'll keep scoring like a plotter, but he won't lose much more value. Best case, they score that 70, 80 that no one else has. So, look, I think you hold him. Pray that he doesn't make Origin, but I feel like Queenslanders are pretty loyal to their incumbents, and I'm fairly confident they'll pick Ponga. I mean, Munster's not he's not young anymore, so playing fullback with his groin and issues and things like that will be difficult. So I don't think that's a realistic option. The only realistic option I see is Hammer playing fullback, but he's been carving up at centre at Queensland for so long that I don't know why they'd do that. So I think Ponga's their fullback.
So he's a hold. Another week of
He's a
Ponga.
hold one more week for sure. I'm playing him against the Eels. Like, the Eels are trash, man. 100%.
Yeah, and you'd think he knows that he's trying out for an Origin spot this week, right? So I think we might see like 5 out of 10 level effort, which would be a PB for him this year. So yeah, could be Ponga time.
Can you
Could be Ponga
believe
time.
he was averaging 70 after 2 weeks?
He was looking like a must-have. I had so much regret about not buying him at the start.
Yeah, I remember
Just
that.
thought, oh, I've stuffed up. Like he looks good.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but anyway.
Yeah. You want to hear a fun stat? I can't remember what the time period is, but it's actually quite a long time. Max King has scored more tries than Kalen Ponga in like the last 8 months.
That's crazy. I mean, it's coming. Like at some point, he'll have a big 5-round average.
And we said that, and then we said that about Walsh, right? Like I think I'm starting to lose faith and return to the mean, with these guys.
Yeah.
No, look, I think to put a bow on this, it's a personal choice. Like if you want to give up, you can give up. I'm giving you permission to do it. But logical, intelligent answer is hold on against Parramatta, trying out for an Origin jersey, maybe making around 12 number there as well, not making the team.
Let me ask you a question. Would you be more pissed off as a Ponga owner if he scores 20 this week against Parramatta? Or would you be more pissed off if you sold him and he scored 80 against Parramatta?
I want nothing less than selling a player and they pop off. Nothing burns me more. So I would hold Ponga myself.
You got to hold. You got to hold. Just ask yourself that question, and you got your answer.
There are many viewers who they don't think like that. Like they're just like, no, I hate him. Give him the flick. Dead to me. So it's different kinds of fantasy players, man. Now we'll pump through the holds and sells because these are pretty straightforward. Jackson Purdue moves to the halves spot. His average in reserve grade in the halves is about a 51. That's on the back of very low kick meters. So playing that running 6 role. The best case scenario here is Fletcher Sharp, right? That really explosive, fast, young running 6 in a team that's better than the Knights as well. The worst case scenario is Ethan Strange last year. So really low scores, but again, that running 6 role, right? So you've got that full spectrum of outcomes. I just really want to hammer home that Fletcher Sharp is not the norm. Like he is producing something that's just not heard of from a non-kicking half who, is just pumping out that high 50s average. So for Purdue, I would say it's probably good news. Like it increases his ceiling of scoring. But I would say that low 40s average he has, I would expect that to sort of stay around that number, maybe bump up into the mid 40s there. But I don't think it's going to be an instant, jump to a 60 average here.
No, it's hard because he's probably getting less running opportunities at centre. He's going to have to play less off the cuff. But on the flip side, they might just give him the license to run around like a Dylan Brown or a Fletcher Sharp. And, he's not much of a tackler at centre. So if he adds 5-10 tackles, keeps his meters, gets a bit of kick meters, it's probably balanced out because you're scoring less tries and less assists maybe as a 5'8". I don't know, maybe not less assists, but definitely less tries. So I think he's a hold. I think you just keep it. I was going to potentially sell him this week, but now I'd be crazy not to at least see how he goes at the 7th spot.
Give him a run. 100-meter rule, man. That's a big thing.
That's it. I'll be keeping an eye out for the 100 meters this week. As soon as he gets over 100 meters, the party starts.
Toby Couchman, what do you reckon?
Look, he is a must-have for round 15, a 60 average dual position player, mid and edge. He's only missing 2 extra games, really, because he had a bye next week anyway. I would just hold him. If you've got Yo and you've got Couchman, you're definitely selling Yo because of the reasons we mentioned. If he's going to miss 5 of the next 8. But I can also see the argument why people would want to move Couchman to a Tarpanay, for example, or a Hosking. But if you've got players, like a lot of people have both Couchman and Nicholson. Like I'd definitely move Nicholson, and if I could hold a player, I'd hold Couchman because you're going to want to buy him back in 3 weeks anyway. So, look, I'm definitely targeting Couchman when he returns. So I would personally hold him because he wasn't playing next week anyway.
I'm with you. Hold 100%. The risk, though, I'll just raise these 2 things. One, comes back from injury, and Hamish Stewart has killed it. Pacific Tonga has killed it. DeBellin's still good, all that sort of thing. Emery Gould is back, and his minutes aren't what they used to be. I would say that's not a major risk because even if he gets like 60 minutes or 55 minutes, he can pump out a 60 average anyway. So I'm not super worried about that. The real risk, though, is this injury has been bothering for a while, and it sounds like instability in the shoulder. So they'll do rehab to try and strengthen that shoulder. That sounds to me like it might still be a risk of re-happening, especially with the amount of tackling he does in the middle.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I'd sort of raise there.
Yeah, 100%. I think like that's a good point. Once you've said that, I think if you're trying to sell Castleman to one of these guys on our buy list, like a Herbie Farnworth, a Tarpanay asking, like definitely on board. But if you're going to do a Toby Castleman to just someone random for no reason, if you're moving him to another guy who misses around 12, like I wouldn't do it personally.
Would you do Couchman to Max King?
No.
Agree.
Max King, like Max King ain't it, man. Like everyone's hyped him up, but he's not it.
I agree. 43 and 50 minutes last 2 weeks. Got saved by that try. So, yep, I'm on that. Adam Fanor-Blake as well. I've got him in the same box. Just saved by a try. Not worth jumping in on. Corey Horsburgh, easy hold. He might not make Origin. There's a chance, right? So I'll just quickly camera this. Big Tino's obviously in the team. Paddy Carrigan's obviously in the team there as well in the middle forward rotation. And you got guys like Mo Fodawaker, guys like Jai Arrow, Lindsay Collins has done a job before. Like there are a bunch of guys there, and Corey Horsburgh's in that conversation. He'd be in my Queensland team, but I don't pick the team. So I'd say there's like a 25% chance that Horsburgh misses Origin, in which case he plays round 12. You might as well hold him this week and just see if that happens.
Yeah, I think he's an easy hold this week. I mean, he's back. He'll be annoyed that he missed last week. And obviously, like the same reasons we said, Tarpanay should get good minutes this week, apply to Horsburgh, so hold him. Tamale, look, with Tamale, I personally would not be holding Tamale. So I'll outline my reasons, you counter. I mean, I think Tamale is pretty much...
Let's debate this. That's fun.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that Tamale, he's kind of at that awkward price where he doesn't have that much more upside left in him. Maybe he's got 50, 60 more K. I think he has a good buy schedule, but you can move him up to someone who has a good buy schedule that has a much better scoring profile, or you can scale him down to someone with a good buy schedule with a slightly worse scoring profile. But I assume Tamale week to week is not in your starters. So he's a 500K NPR emergency who is not the most trustworthy. Like he's generally pretty good, but he does have a dud in him. I guess most fullbacks do. So I'm either upgrading him to someone who's 650, 700K. Like it's only 80K to him to Hosking. Or I'm just cashing him down to someone, well, maybe not Xavier Savage, but cashing down to someone who could benefit you over those buy rounds anyway. That's my thoughts.
Yeah. Look, everything you say is valid. The one thing I'm going to counter with is he plays the Titans this week. So
very true.
That matchup with him, like he hasn't scored below 40 in games where he scored tries. And I'd say he's a very good chance of scoring a try this week. So I think this could be a boom game for Tamale. I'll play him on my 17 just for the upside. Like, I'll be pretty confident about that. And a lot of teams have Jenkins as well. So they can probably do a wing fullback loophole if they want to this week, which isn't the worst play either. Or they might be loopholing, Rob Toya, these types of guys. I think you just keep him in that spot there. But at the same time, if he goes well this week, there's every chance that you can trade Tamale for Tom Trbojevic and net yourself 100K next week.
Yeah.
Which is just absurd, right? If Turbo doesn't get picked for Origin, he plays all three major buy rounds. Like, I don't know. I just think Tamale is one of those guys. I'm going to sit on him this week. I'm going to try not to trade this week if I can and make the decisions next week when we know the Origin teams. Like that's kind of where I'm leaning at this point. So I think he's one of those ones you sit on.
I mean, after you've said that, I agree that you could just hold him one more week because you're 100% right. There's some options the next week that could be available, like Teddy, Turbo, Garrick, Karaz, all these guys that we mentioned earlier that are probably worth waiting a week. And he should definitely at least hold his value this week. So
you make a good point, actually.
You have switched me over.
Oh yeah, well that's good. I mean, look, everything you said is valid too, because everything you were saying was that he's a sell next week. Like, the arguments you made are exactly what I'm thinking for next week. But like Tamale, if he goes well this week and Garrick loses a bit of cash, Garrick has Parramatta and the Titans in the two major buy rounds to start off, so around 12, round 15. I like the idea of going Tamale to Garrick, and it'll cost I think it'll cost like 70K, right, to make that trade. So I'm sort of planning Tamale to Garrick or Tamale to Turbo or one of these guys who's going to cover the buy rounds really well. But yeah, this week against the Titans, start him this week. He'll pump out a big number. And then Tommy Jenkins has the bye this week. There's a lot of bad news here. So Tommy Jenkins, he was playing off the bench last week. They ran a bench with Schneider and Jenkins on it. Schneider played 0 minutes. Jenkins came on to spell Luke Garner. Luke Garner then came back on for Isaac Tungo, who had HIA. They have a bye this week, so even if he failed that, it doesn't really matter. But the issue is Garner scored a double in the first half. So the thought that Jenkins would win that spot back, even though he did play well when he came back on, is sort of dead and buried. Like you'd think that Garner scoring a double, if they had any doubts at all, they're probably dispelled now. So it means that Garner might be the center going forward. Now, what you keep Jenkins for is if you're looking at your wing fullback spot and you've only got 3 and one of them is Jenkins, he'll play round 12 when Brian To'o goes into Origin camp, right? So that's fairly certain that will happen. Like To'o probably goes in. That means that it frees you up. If you want to attack the wing fullback position, it means you don't have to buy guys who are playing round 12. So you can target, Latrell Mitchell if he didn't make Origin, which won't happen. But Jaden Campbell, Scott Drinkwater, you can target these types of guys and just keep Jenkins to plug round 12. Whereas if you sell Jenkins, you're going to have to buy one of those round 12 wing fullbacks who I believe are inferior to the ones who are more attractive in round 13. So my view on this again is just to pause, cop it 2 weeks, play him in round 12, and then make a move in round 13.
It's exactly, as a Jenkins owner, that's exactly what I'm doing. Holding, playing him around 12 if he's in the wing spot. If Toa, for whatever reason, doesn't get picked, or if he does get picked and they use someone else at the wing spot, then Jenkins can easily go to one of the guys you mentioned. Otherwise, I'm looking to move him up to a Campbell, etc. Even a Ewan Aitken type in round 13.
I need to make a bit of cash here because while you're away, Jay-Z and I had a big debate about Jenkins.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 450K was the marker. So he was at,
Yep.
I think he was at 380K.
He'll get
and
there.
we set the mark at 450. So even though he's come off the bench, he's actually come on and scored a try. So I need him to get the 450K for me to win that bet. But I think even now, like he's pumped out big numbers since that conversation. So I think he's justified it. Then the sells, this is pretty straightforward. So just quickly to hammer a really easy one. Greg Marzhew, a lot of you guys have Greg Marzhew out 4 to 6 weeks. Easy sell. Get that done. Isaiah Yo, I'll throw to you here, Biz, because you're obviously a bit of a Yo believer. Are you prioritizing selling him at this stage?
Yeah, I'm definitely selling him. He misses 5 of the next 8 weeks, and he's not at that god transcendent level like Haas or May this year to be warranting keeping him. At 800K, he's easy to target. Look, he'll miss round 11. He misses round 12. He'll probably maybe play a reduced role in 13, maybe not. Panthers are losing. He'll miss round 15. Cleary's already come out and said he'll miss round 16, playing a reduced role in round 17, maybe. Probably not. He'll probably play full 80 minutes in round 17. And then round 18, he'll miss. And then round 19 could be a bit of a reduced role. So in the next 10 odd weeks, he might only play 2 80-minute games. So I think it's an easy sell. Like, thank you for your service, sir. Maybe come back to my team the last 5-6 weeks of the year. But look, him to Tarpanay is a pretty easy trade.
Agree. You lose a couple of points on sort of peak average there, but yeah, you got to make this move. Yo's an easy one to sell. Shibasaki Arthurs, I'll throw them to you as well because you're a big Shibasaki guy and you've got some great scores out of him.
Yeah, look, I think
474 now.
He's close to 500K now, but they're both sells because look, you could potentially hold this week, but there's not much juice left in them. It's kind of similar argument to Male. You could probably play them this week and see who's available next week. So arguably holds as well. But with Shibasaki and Arthurs, they miss round 12, they miss round 15. So literally the worst buy schedule for the major buys. I would be moving them both to Turbo, Ponga, whoever's not in that Origin team next week. But if you need players this week, I mean, I would just keep them this week. Even like Shibasaki is pretty consistent. Arthurs is obviously very try dependent, and Broncos have fallen off a bit. But the potential is there to get one more score out of them before trading them next week. But I think potential sells this week, definite sells next week.
Dragons are a good matchup too, so I don't mind that. But if you're going to own a Bronco, obviously number 2 is Payne Haas. Number 1 is Brendan Piakura. So
100%.
moving one of them to Piakura would be a great trade. I want to see a few screenshots of that. Jamie Humphries, he came in last week, and a few of you guys got excited about Jamie Humphries. I think we discussed him a bit last week, just as a guy who it's kind of interesting. We want to see how he goes. We just wanted to talk about him really, but Him next to Latrell, we had a theory that Latrell would take a lot of those kick meters. He did. Latrell was the dominant kicker for South Sydney in this game. For Jamie Humphries as well, he didn't have a lot of defensive stats. I think he only had 16 tackles as opposed to his usual 30, and didn't really get involved in the attack either. So it was very Latrell dominant. Jaden Sullivan, I think he scored 20. Humphries scored 19. If I had Humphries, I'd probably sell him. I think that was enough for me to just go, nah, stuff it, you're gone. The only counter you could make is Latrell makes Origin, misses some games. Humphries has a good buy schedule. I just don't think it's a strong enough argument at that price when you could go straight swap to Zach Hosking.
Yeah, I would be. Look, if I bought him last week, I don't think I have a stomach selling him. Like I've already had to do that with David Fafita, and it hurts me to this day. I would just. I mean, yeah, logically sell, but mentally, it's one that I'll just be like, all right, I got to see this one out for at least a couple of weeks. But I agree with you. I think if Latrell is kicking 400 from the back, what is Humphries doing? He's not kicking goals. He's lost the goals, which is like 6 to 8 points. He's lost 15 points of kick meters. He goes from a 55, 60 guy to mid 40s. And at that price, it's no real value. So
he was also their field goal guy as well. Like he was the hero.
Yeah. He was Latrell at the half spot.
I hope they can figure out how to play together. Like, because I think later on, I think we're going to see Humphries resurge, but it's going to be a while, and we're going to need to see that running game come out. So it's not one I'd wait for. And Owen Paddy, you flicked Owen Paddy, didn't you?
I never had Paddy to start. There's one I considered a lot because I went with Starling at the start of the year, which was a great buy.
There we go,
I had Starling, and then I sold him for David Fafita, which was the dumbest bloody trade. Okay, actually, no, it was a good trade. I would make it again, but it just worked out terribly. Owen Paddy, look, he's just not getting minutes. Starling just got 80 minutes last week. Starling's in career best form. He's defending really well. He's attacking well. He's getting the ball to the forwards. That's all he has to really do, and he's choosing his moments. Paddy, and Starling extending at Canberra too. So I don't really know what that means for Paddy going forward.
So weird.
He's probably a couple of years away. I think, look, Starling is young enough and fit enough that he doesn't need more than 10 minutes on the pine. So yeah, unfortunately, Paddy, your time is not now.
So confusing though. They brought Jaden Brayley in too. So it's a weird move for them. I thought maybe one of those hookers had come to Parramatta, but apparently not. So that's buy, hold, sell. Done and dusted for this week. Big targets, guys. You got Joey Tarpanay. A lot of you guys are going to be looking at Isaiah Yeo to Joey Tarpanay. So that's a great trade. We like that. You want to move to Zach Hosking as well. If you're a Marzu owner, for example, Marzu to Hosking is a straight swap too, right? So you can make these moves. I think Hosking's a must-have. Tarpanay is a bit of a luxury trade, but he's in form. He covers the middle forward spot, is a great option. And then with these guys who are in the Origin picture, Origin teams get announced really late. So it's the Blues team on like Sunday afternoon. So you're not going to have time to react. And Queenslanders after that. So unless we get a leaked team, which, look, I'll create a video on YouTube. It'll be on Instagram, all that sort of thing, if we do get a leaked team and it's accurate. But other than that, you're not going to know Origin teams. So for these Origin prospective players, I just wouldn't buy them until next week and cop the cash loss. Biz, any other last words here for everyone before we jump off?
Piakora, baby. It's Piakora season. Let's go.
It's Piakora season. Let's try and find a way to get him, bro. We got the mascot. We've saved him. It took 10 weeks, but he's the guy now.
We joked about it, but it could be Ponga as the mascot next year at this rate.
People are keen for that. I think we need to go back to Talau actually and fix him up again.
That's true. He needs a bit of a running repair. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, cheers, Biz, for jumping on. Enjoy work, mate. Biz is dialing in, guys, from New York. So he does these in the morning. I'm doing these late at night. Thanks for dedication, man.
See you, man. See you next week.